Hello everyone! Today I will be lecturing on diversity in parenting, and specifically we will be talking about same-sex families and lesbian-gay family relationships. We will start with a short quote from a 12-year-old girl who said, "I'm a 12-year-old girl and I have two moms. I have two people who love me very much, take care of me, and help me the best I can be. I make a straight A's in school. I play the viola, and of course, love other things that any other 12-year-old child should love. Most of all, I love my two moms." So today I will be talking about parenting in gay and lesbian families. First, I will provide some prevalence rates of children growing up in same-sex families. Then I will discuss regarding the socio-political context in which these families live and have to raise their kids. And we will talk about some of the myths around same-sex couples and will challenge those myths, providing some facts and empirical evidence. So basically what the research actually says about parenting among LGBT parents as well as child outcomes. And we will also talk about factors that are related to positive adjustment, and then also we'll be talking about gay fathers. So we will start talking about the prevalence rates of children growing up in same-sex families. While talking about this topic, it is important that we keep in mind that there is very little research, even though increasing currently, on this topic. And there are only a few studies that provide us with all the information we have. So it's very hard to know exactly how many gay and lesbian parents are in the US. And we know this is true because of fears of discrimination or losing child custody or visitation rights. And actually many gay and lesbian parents hide their sexual identity because of these reasons. But basically, how the prevalence of LGBT families has been estimated is with the US Census data. However, they don't ask questions about sexual orientation. And if we think about this, it can of course create problems when trying to estimate a population that is not exactly identified. But overall, it is believed that there are about from 1 to 5 million lesbian mothers, 1 to 3 million of gay fathers, and 6 to 14 million children of gay and lesbian parents. And I know you're probably thinking these estimates are wide and very variable, and this is due to the range in estimates of adults who identify as LGBT. Recently, there has been two new studies conducted by the Williams Institute that have provided new estimates regarding the size of LGBT community in the US and the number of people in same-sex marriages and raising children. So the Williams Institute is dedicated to conduct independent research on sexuality, gender identity, and public policy in the United States. An analysis of the 2013 National Health Interviews Survey indicated the following estimates. And this survey consisting in four large surveys, national and population-based surveys. So this survey indicated the following estimates. About 200,000 children under age 18 are raised by same-sex couples, of whom 30,000 are being raised by married same-sex parents. LGBT parents who are not part of a couple are raising between 1.2 and 2 million children. And overall, most agree that between 1 to 12% of all children in the US are being raised by gay or lesbian parents. So now we're gonna talk about the myths surrounding the negative effects of gay and lesbian parents on child development. And these statements or myths we're gonna talk about have historically aroused from judicial concerns, and often related to child custody cases. So in the past, if a gay or lesbian parent was seeking custody from a child from a previous heterosexual relationship, a lot of times these myths actually prevented these parents from getting custody of their child. So the first myth relates to gender roles, and it says children raised by gay, lesbian parents will show disturbances in gender roles. But the fact is that children get their role models from many places besides their parents, including grandparents, teachers, and friends. Another myth is that children raised by gay lesbian parents will show disturbances in their sexual identity, for example, in terms of the homosexual orientation. However, evidence from available studies have demonstrated that sexual orientation of parents that does not impact children's sexual orientation. And actually, there's some evidence that children of gay and lesbian parents are more tolerant of diversity. Another myth relates to psychological health and says that children raised by gay and lesbian parents will be less psychologically healthy than children growing up in heterosexual homes. However, no difference have been found that support this idea. Another myth relates to peer rejection, and it says that children will have difficulties in establishing social relationships and will be rejected by their peers. However, children make fun of other children for a variety of reasons, and what is important is that children who grow up in a stable and loving environment are more likely to show resilience and then will be less affected by experiences of peer rejection. Another myth is that lesbian and gay parents are more likely to molest the children, but actually what the empirical evidence indicates is that child molesters are most often heterosexual white males. And also children are most likely to experience intrafamilial sexual abuse by a heterosexual stepfather than by a homosexual male. And then another myth, and the final myth we will be talking about today, relates to good parenting, and that children raised by lesbian and gay parents do not know how to be good parents and will grow up in an immoral environment. And actually, all the evidence shows that lesbian and gay men can be good parents and as likely to provide support as heterosexual parents. And additionally, the adoption and foster care process is designed to screen out those individuals who are not qualified to adopt. So now that we know what are the myths surrounded gay and lesbian parents, and that we have indicated that there's no evidence that actually suggests that those myths are actually true, we're going to talk about the legal and socio-political context in which these families live to better understand their experiences and factors they need to consider when deciding to have children or if they already have children. You can see in the slide that I have included several links. You can click in each of them and it will direct you to the website. But now I will briefly talk about each of the links, but you should read all of them by your own. So first we will start talking about sexual orientation and the DSM history. We have talked before about what the DSM means in this class, and this is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And now we're gonna go back to 1952, and in this year, the American Psychological Association listed homosexuality in the DSM as a sociopathic personality disturbance. And this view was widely influential in the medical field until 1956, when the psychologist Evelyn Hooker performed a study that compared the happiness and well-adjusted nature of self-identified homosexual men with heterosexual men, and actually she didn't find any difference between these two groups. However, it was not until almost 20 years later, so it was not until 1974, that homosexuality was not listed as a mental disorder in the DSM. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association declassified homosexuality as a mental disorder, and the diagnosis was replaced with the category of sexual orientation disturbance. Then, the American Psychological Association Council followed in 1975. And then other major mental health organizations follow, including the World Health Organization in 1990. So this gives you an idea of how our field initially tend to pathologize and consider homosexuality as a mental disorder, and it was not until more recent that psychological and medical associations have declassified homosexuality as a mental disorder. So we're going to talk now about conversion therapy. In the last 2 years, there has been 2 bills that passed out and will prohibit mental health providers from trying to change the sexual orientation of minors. So for example, the President Obama has stated his opinion on the issue and called for an end to so-called conversion therapies. At this point, the medical establishment more or less unanimously agrees that conversion therapy does not work and that is abusive. And the American Psychological Association has been saying this for well over a decade. So gay rights groups argue that parents should not force minors to undergo these treatments, and that they have sought to make the services available. Opponent says that such laws violate parental rights as well as religious freedom. So in terms of same-sex parenting, the American Psychological Association shared their poster on this issue in 2004. And the American Psychological Association Council of Representatives adopted a policy resolution that include the following statement based on a review of the best available literature. So the following is the statement. There is no scientific evidence that parenting effectiveness is related to parental sexual orientation. Lesbian and gay parents are as likely as heterosexual parents to provide supportive and healthy environments for their children. So this body of research that informed the statement that I just read is basically saying that the adjustment and development and psychological adjustment and well-being of children is unrelated to parental sexual orientation. And actually the bullet on the slide will direct you to the full resolution on the APA, American Psychological Association stand, if you want to read more about it.